I quit my job, then my relationship ended and I started living
That
by
same
myself.
week?
Yeah, it genuinely changed my life. So One Pot, One Portion came about actually because it's what I needed. You only have to think about yourself. You can be really selfish and be like, what do I want to eat? What do I feel like? What do I need right now? Don't wait until you're single to throw yourself into a passion. Whilst it can be a very useful thing to do when you find yourself in a new circumstance, you should prioritise yourself anyway.
What brought about the interest in food? Have you always been a foodie?
Food was always the passion. Most people around me could probably tell that was all I cared about, and I sort of thought I didn't want to turn it into my job because I never wanted it to not be my passion, but luckily that hasn't happened. Nothing is guaranteed, and I think if you have the privilege of choice, fill your own cup, invest in yourself, and don't see that as a negative thing.
Before we jump into this episode, I'd love to invite you to join this candid spiritual community to hear more conversations that will help you become happier, healthier, and more healed. All I want you to do is click on that subscribe button because I love your support. I love seeing all the comments pouring through, all the love pouring through, and we're just getting started. I can't wait to go on this journey with you, whether you're a spiritual seeker or you're just curious about the topic. And we really hope that our conversations will provide you food for thought and inspiration for your own spiritual journey. So join us for honest, candid discussions about spirituality for soul's sake.
For soul's sake, for soul's sake.
Hello and welcome to another episode of For Soul's Sake, a candid conversation with the best in wellness, the best in spirituality, and today another foodie, someone who is incredible in her field. Today I'm welcoming and introducing you to Eleanor Wilkinson. A little bit about her. I've got a little note script here, so I'm not going to get this wrong. Her brand, One Pot, One Portion, is all about connecting food and mood. She's all about trying to find ways in which we can develop portions for one person. And her book, One Pot, One Portion, is all about that. She had to write it in 10 weeks. We're going to get into all things. Eleanor, thank you so much for joining us. I really
Thank you for
appreciate
having me.
It's a great honour and
I'm
privilege
excited
to
to
have
be
you
here.
here. Let's get stuck in on the book. So, One Pot, One Portion. You're writing about creating portions for one person. How did that come about?
So it all came about 18 months, almost 2 years ago. I started, well, actually 3 things happened all at once. And if one of them hadn't happened, none of this would have happened, which I think is
Serendipitous.
fate, exactly.
Destiny.
I don't know, destiny. But no, my long-term relationship ended. I quit my job and I started living by myself for the first time.
What were you doing before?
I worked in the charity sector.
Wow.
For a couple of different charities working with children and young people, which I still love and I'm passionate about and would love to go back into that at some point in the future. But I kind of realised food has been my lifelong passion, and I sort of realised that I think I wanted to turn it into a job. I had no idea in what capacity, but I quit my job on a bit of a whim. I actually listened to a podcast, I think on a Tuesday lunchtime.
Podcasts are wicked.
They change your life.
They change your life.
Apparently.
This is going to change your life. Stay with us.
Exactly. Listened to a podcast on the Tuesday. I think I called my mum and I was like, I'm going to quit my job. And quit my job on the Monday. I appreciate there's a lot of an element of privilege of choice there, which I'm very grateful for. But I quit my job. So it was the last day of my job. Then, my relationship ended and I started living by myself within 12 hours, which was an intense, maybe 24 hours. 24 hours. It was a very intense weekend. And it genuinely changed my life. And I think that sounds I don't know, I'm trying to be really intense. But
intensity.
It did. Not necessarily by choice. It just it happened that way. So because I had quit my job, I was looking to do more food things. I had my social media page, but it wasn't really, it was by no means a career. It wasn't earning me money, that sort of thing. But I thought, okay, I'll put more time into creating content and sharing recipes. But then because I was also living by myself and had no one to share the washing up with, I was just like, I'm making too much food. I can't keep creating new content, new recipes because I'm wasting food and there's no one to share it with. And also, I so do not want to do all of the washing up at the end. So one pot, one portion came about actually because it's what I needed. I also think because I was, despite food being my passion, after a day of creating recipes, I would get to dinner time and be like, I don't want to cook for myself. It's too much effort and it feels too overwhelming and everything like that. And so I thought, actually, no, this is what I need. I need food that is as delicious as it is easy, or rather as easy as it is delicious, and that can inspire me to cook, not feel too arduous, and just give me everything that I need in that moment. And I think there's such a huge element of joy to that because there's no one there to share it with. You only have to think about yourself. You can be really selfish and be like, what do I want to eat? What do I feel like? What do I need right now? And that's where it came about. And I sort of started the series on social media and it all took off. There was about a 3-month period where it just blew up.
Yeah, I can imagine it would.
Yeah, it was.
There's so many people that are in that same sitch.
Exactly. And I think I didn't realise at the start, I kind of assumed that people in a similar situation to me, you know, mid-20s, living by themselves, single potentially, would resonate with the concept and with the recipes. But I got messages from so many people who, you know, single parents who maybe didn't have their kids at the weekend and were cooking for themselves and not used to it, or empty nesters who are slightly older, their children have gone to university, suddenly they've been used to cooking for a family for 20 years and now it's just them. Or I had a couple of people who say like, oh, my granddad had lost his wife and he cooks for himself now, but just needs a little bit of extra help. And so there was just so many people.
Like my mum's like that right now. Like she, every time I see her, she's always cooked way too much. I'm like, why did you? And she's, I'm just used to it.
Yeah, totally. Always, it's always thinking about cooking for others, and I think actually people often forget about themselves, and it's also, I think, that thing where you would happily create the time to cook a meal for other people, but doing something for yourself might feel like just unnecessary or too much effort, but you would never think twice about doing it for somebody else or for your family or for your partner or for your friends.
I mean, just come to think of it, I don't remember the last time I went to a restaurant. Well, I do actually. When I travel, I do eat by myself. But then I'm like, oh, it'd be nice to have someone else here just so I can order a few more dishes.
Totally.
But yeah, I get it. I fully understand the need for it.
Yeah, I think individuals are slightly overlooked in society, but in food in particular, because every recipe serves 4, maybe 2 if you're lucky. All tables that like you wouldn't go out for dinner. I think, or rather, if you did go out for dinner by yourself, I think people would think, oh, that is not a choice. Yeah. It's because you have no one else, or somebody cancelled. Or
that's so interesting. The last time I had dinner by myself, I was in New York City, and I mean there could have been many people I could have called to join me, but I was like, let me just go for dinner by myself. And I do remember feeling a little bit conscious about it, like self-conscious, like, oh, and maybe this isn't normal to eat. But then, to be honest, I just kind of put my phone away. I'm just looking around, and the amount of like awkward looks of people just kind of going, like, why is he like not on his phone or something? Like, it's okay. It's okay because we live in a world of what I like to call crowded loneliness.
Yeah.
Where we're surrounded by hundreds of people, and at the same time can feel quite alone. And at the same time, we should accept that there's a difference between loneliness and solitude.
Yeah.
And that solitude is actually damn valuable. Like, to just respect that, yeah, I need time to myself, and there's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, even for people who are looking at this book and going, yeah, this book is, you should be amazingly proud of yourselves and happy that you've got time to yourself to cook one portion for yourself.
Yeah, or that you're even
respect yourself,
considering it in the first place. That even if you don't make the recipe, you just save it. Like, how nice that you thought, hey, that would be nice for me.
Yeah.
I think there's
I get it.
What I hope to do with my social media and with the book in particular is really bring back the joy to doing things for yourself. And actually, really, it's a form of self-care. And I think prioritizing yourself is really important, but also taking the time to check in with yourself and think, as I said, like, what type of food do I want to eat, and how will it serve me? You know, do I need something really quick this week, or do I need something really fresh, something energizing, or do I need comfort food? And that's actually how the book is structured. It's structured by that kind of mood. So rather than chapters being by meal type, for example,
by mood.
It's mood. And
That's so cool.
it's about what you need and what you want, and
That's so cool.
what will serve you in that time. And then hopefully all of these things will just add to your enjoyment of cooking, your enjoyment of potentially being by
Start
yourself.
with yourself, and then you can go out and love.
Fill your own cup
Fill
first.
your cup, yeah. Any particular recipe that you feel that's like a fan favourite or your favourite?
I'd say a fan favourite is definitely the lasagna. Oh, a fan favourite for everybody outside of Italy.
Excited to hear about this. I love a good lasagna.
Yeah, a lasagna, you think it's a classic family dish.
Yeah.
You make a huge thing. It takes several hours and
A whole
10
tray.
different pots.
Can you imagine making a lasagna that's not in a tray?
Exactly.
That's nuts.
Um,
But it's very cool.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And there's a few little hacks in there to make it suitable.
Can you tell us?
One pot and one portion. Well, the first one was you would use fresh lasagna sheets so that it cooks in the sauce.
Right.
And then rather than having a traditional bechamel, I use mascarpone, which is entirely untraditional, but has the same.
Italians pulling their hair out.
Oh, they're not happy with me. They're not happy with me, but it's okay. Yeah, it recreates the same flavour and the same feeling. So you eat it and you're like, this is lasagna. And yeah, you don't have to eat it for 7 days on the trot. You can just have your one lasagna night, and if you want to eat it,
tomorrow.
exactly. That's the whole book. So that's definitely a favourite. But I've got lots of favourites in the book, but you'll have to
When's
wait
it
till it's out.
When's
July
it
the 11th.
July 11th.
Yes.
Make sure you guys, can you pre-order now?
You can pre-order now.
Pre-order now.
Using
Go
the
check
link
it
in
out.
my
Go on.
bio.
Link in bio. Go check it out. We'll put it down in the comment section so you can go check it out. What got you interested from... I know that you seem like a very heartfelt person, working philanthropy, working in charity. What brought about the interest in food? Have you always been a foodie?
I always say there was no time before food. Food was always the passion, always. And I
Childhood.
think, one of my earliest memories actually is making a cake with my brother and my sister and my dad, and he would let us all do one thing each. So one of us could put in the butter, one of us could put in the sugar, one of us could stir. And I think I don't know how, it's a very early, when memories are kind of blurry, and I have no idea how old I was, but I was very young. But no, food has always been the passion, and from a very young age, I think most people around me could probably tell that was all I cared about. I think the example I always use is that whenever we went on holidays as kids, we'd write little holiday diaries, and my brother and my sister would write about where we went and what we did, and mine would always be about the food. It would be like, we woke up and we had this for breakfast, and then we went to this town and I had an ice cream, and I got the apple flavour, but my sister got the Kit Kat flavour. And
Kit Kat flavour ice cream?
I know.
What?
It was good.
What town was this? I want to go there now.
It was in Italy somewhere, I don't know, back in the day, 20 years ago.
If anyone knows how to get good Kit Kat ice cream,
Shall I try to do a one pot, one portion version?
can we be friends?
Yeah, go on then.
Amazing. Wow. Okay.
So yeah, food has just always been there, and always been my greatest passion. And I sort of thought I didn't want to turn it into my job because I never wanted it to not be my passion. But luckily, that hasn't happened. It is still very much just a part of who I am and the thing I think about more than anything else. And I think lots of people in my family are very good cooks, big foodies, and I think I was lucky enough to, go on holidays as well when we were younger and be exposed to different cultures and cuisines, and that's just all added to the love of food.
Incredible.
But yeah, there was no before food.
There's nothing before food. The first. Yeah. Amazing. You seem to have bounced back in those 24 hours really fast. You're like, yeah, quit my job, long-term relationship, finito, writing a book, off we go. Was it as simple as that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
No. No, nothing's ever as simple as that, is it? No, don't
What
get
was
me...
the process?
I mean, don't get me wrong, there was a good few weeks of doing nothing.
It was stirring and there was bubbling.
There was some bad times. But I think, there was a panic about I do not have a job, and now I have bills to pay by myself. And so you have to get up and go, and you have to see what's going to work. And
Survive.
yeah, totally. There's a huge practical element to things. And I think the other thing with spending time by yourself is that it's not dictated by anybody else. You can spend it how you want. And so actually I spent a lot of the time working and, editing videos and posting on social media or researching recipes. And it gave me the time to explore and develop further. And I think that's always going to help. And I think when it's your passion, it's much easier to think, I'll put in the extra time because,
You love it.
I love it. I love it. And even if I wasn't trying to make a job out of it, I would still be watching the programs and doing the research and that sort of thing. But no, nothing's ever as simple as it might seem. And even like now, this whole journey, there's huge ups and there's huge downs, and that's probably the hardest part about all this is that the highs are so high, but the lows it's a struggle as well, because so much of it is just me by myself, and that's difficult sometimes. And so yeah, it's never all joy or
just
enjoyment.
because you're speaking to such a vast audience that are probably feeling exactly how you feel about solitude. I'd love to dig a little bit more into if you're comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And what it means to maintain enthusiasm. And because you said like you got stuck in on your work and that became your way of perhaps processing things. And I guess that I can see that as being really, really helpful, but I think it can also maybe mask over the stuff that you have to at some point process. And so maybe like you can even go down the barrel if you want, and someone who's feeling that they're in the same situation that you're in, they're at wit's end in a relationship or at wit's end in their job, and they want to find a life of joy and purpose. And what would your message be to that person? Because maybe just like even yourself rewinding back and meditating on that moment where you were like, okay, yeah, I'm done with life as I know it, and I want to go somewhere else. What gave you the courage, or what was what inspired you on in going, okay, I'm going to do this now?
Yeah.
Do you have a message for someone that's going through that right now?
I think I would just say that life is simultaneously very long and very short, and you have no idea. Nothing is guaranteed, and I think if you have the privilege of choice, choose yourself where you can.
Wow.
And I think we all deserve to invest in ourselves, whether that's time, energy, money, emotion, whatever it is. I think fill your own cup, invest in yourself, and don't see that as a negative thing. You could still say it's selfish, potentially, but maybe there's nothing wrong with being
like
selfish every now and then.
Life is long as well. So maybe if right now is your time to fill the cup, and then next year is your time to free and give the cup.
Totally, exactly. And I think if you have the choice to take small parts of your day and make them better for you, why not do that? And I think give yourself the grace and the time that you deserve, because you do deserve it. And I think it's easy in this world to think that you need to do more or be better in order to deserve some things. Yeah. And I think you just need to give yourself the permission to think, I already deserve this. And choosing yourself will hopefully make your life better. And then in turn, you can choose to make other people's lives better with that.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's easier said than done. I think everything is easier said than done. But I do think in this world, often it can be seen as a negative thing to put yourself first. And I think there's a time and place for not doing that, of course, but just do something nice for yourself. Be nice to yourself. Treat yourself how you hopefully treat other people, and whether that's through food or through movement or through learning something new or just whatever you enjoy, give yourself the grace, the time and the choice, and see what you enjoy, see what makes you feel good, and go from there.
I like how you've also addressed that it was the privilege of choice, and that, you know, not to box in the listenership and those who are listening to this right now, but I'm sure that many of you who are listening will feel that right now, that, yeah, actually, if I take an objective view and I step back from the painting of my life, there are places where I could do more for me. And that's okay. And to give yourself the permission and to give yourself the, guilt-free choice of going, yeah, it's cool. I'm going to try and follow my love and my passion at least for 1 hour a week.
Yeah.
I think all of us, especially if you're on this podcast, you've got an hour in your week because you listen to this right now. You've got an hour in your week somewhere. So just give yourself to something that you really enjoyed, something that's going to make your life less ordinary.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or, yeah, I think the privilege of choice is something I think about a lot as well, especially in relation to food, because to be able to choose what you eat, when you eat, how you eat is such a huge privilege, and to use that privilege to bring joy is almost like a recognition of that as well, to be like,
right,
if I have this choice, like, why not make the most of it? Because not everybody does have the choice. Yeah.
When it came to your siblings and you going off and doing, I don't know what, because you said that there is a background of food and creativity in your family, did they feel like you were stepping into the instability of something unknown and they were like, come on, just get a real job? And
No, I have the best family, and they'd
incredible.
be supportive of anything I did ever. I mean, to be fair, but I think when I first started social media, my sister was like,
really?
What are you doing? But then she came around to it. Now she's very, very supportive. She's very supportive. No, they were all, I think my family, definitely very creative. My brother is a costume designer.
Ooh.
My sister is a doctor and also an interior designer.
That's a far out combination.
Yeah, I know. They both work so hard. They're both amazing. But no, luckily, I think actually a lot of people were like, I think I sort of said, guys, I think I've realised that I want to work in food. And everyone was like, yeah, duh. Obviously, like, why is it taking you 27 years or whatever it was?
Wow. There's a great message in that.
Yeah, totally.
If you don't know what you think you're good at, just go and ask like your closest.
Ask the people around you. Maybe they know you better.
What do you reckon I'm good at?
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, your job, stay.
Yeah. Stick with what you're doing.
Yeah. But no, I mean, there was, I think also with social media, maybe some people are like, I don't understand how you make a living from that. And I was like, I don't know either.
Yeah,
I'm figuring it out. Don't ask me because I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's definitely an element to like, it's not a traditional kind of 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But I think all of my friends and all of my family have always been so supportive, which is arguably part of the reason why I've been able to do it for so long, because I think if you have good people around you,
100%,
then that's everything. And having people being like, celebrating all of the things, like reaching 1,000 followers, all of my friends were just so
proud of you,
proud of me, and that was so nice. And I think it's an interesting thing, because I think starting something new, whether that's a hobby or a potential profession, it can feel embarrassing.
Yeah, for sure.
Until it's not. Yeah. Until you're successful, or until you've achieved something, and then everyone will be like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So just think long term and think, if other people find it embarrassing, that's fine. Yeah. But I see I see a
5-year
future.
me is going to love you.
Exactly. And I think you just need to
Yeah.
push past any if it feels good to you, that's great. And I think try not to think
Here's a question.
too much.
It just popped into my head. So you broke up, had a long-term relationship, single, passion, going. During the process, were you still dating? Were you looking for, or were you like, no, my date right now, my partner right now is my passion? And do you feel like that's a good way for someone who's going through a breakup, going through a relationship change, is to throw themselves into a passion or a purpose?
I think I would say don't wait until you're single to throw yourself into a passion. I don't think, whilst it can be a very useful thing to do when you find yourself in a new circumstance, I don't think it's dependent on that circumstance. And I think that you should prioritise yourself anyway. And I know that's not quite the question that you asked, but I think it's always a good thing to explore your passions and to find new things. And I think, again, as you kind of get older, I think when you're younger, you're encouraged to explore new things and try new hobbies, after school clubs, sports, music, whatever it is. And then as you get older, it's like, okay, well, that's what you did, so that's what you have to stick with. Or like, you didn't do it, so you can't do it now. And I just think, like, why not just challenge yourself? I say that it's really hard, and I don't know that I'm always the best at that. And I think I say this to myself, I think there's lots of things that I want to try, and it can be a great season of your life if you are, finding yourself with more time alone to try those things. But I don't think it's dependent on that. And I think you deserve to be passionate about things and to try new things.
I want to circle back. You can tell me if you don't want to go there. Finding someone and living your passion, is it difficult?
How do you mean?
Like finding someone to partner with in this life whilst also living your passion, have you found that difficult?
I think
because there's a lot of people like entrepreneurs, and I'm thinking of them because a lot of them are my friends, and they've gone through really difficult patches in their search for a partner in this life while really making it big. And I think it's very natural. Like I also I'm married, and for me, I've had to also go through an adaptation of my relationship because I'm the same person, I feel, but there's so many dynamics that are changing. And I think when we get into relationships, we expect that person to be the same as the day we met them. But the truth is 10 years, 15 years pass, and the likelihood is you're going to move together. You're going to transform together. It's going to be, and so I've experienced that. A lot of my friends are also single, and they're working on their passion. They're working on their projects, and a lot of them are successful. But then they also speak about how it's also difficult to find someone during that time. And so I wanted to know like how you found that personally as well, because it might be hope giving, or it may also be just an affirmation. People say, yeah, right now isn't the time for that, and I need to focus on my passion. So I just wanted to know where you sit on that line and what's been your experience of that since having, the long-term relationship gone. But you've also been amazingly successful. You've written a book in 10 weeks. So I'm trying to understand the dynamic of your personal, growth through this.
I mean, I think there's a few elements there, and I think
It's multi-layered.
Totally. I think one of them is perhaps a definition of success and what that means to you. And I think that that's individual for everybody, and that's absolutely
100%.
fine. I think for me, success isn't just the kind of classic financial or
Numbers
and that's not success. Success is being content and fulfilled and surrounded by good people, and sure, all of that is arguably easier and more enjoyable when you are in a position of financial security, and I don't think you can ignore that, but I think it doesn't have to be the defining factor of success. And so I think with that, you can choose how to prioritize relationships, friendships, everything. And also I think in an ideal world, you will only ever surround yourself with people that support your passions and your job. If those two are the same thing, great. And if they're not, then that's fine. And hopefully the people around you will always support that. And I think in relationships, yes, the idea is to change and evolve together, and somebody that's the right person will support what you do and will also hopefully give you the time to fill your own cup and you theirs, and it works together so that you don't necessarily have to choose like you're
one or the
or
other.
feel like you're choosing between yourself or your relationship, and that they can work together. Again, this is all in an ideal world, but from my experience it's possible, and that's really nice.
Yeah, I love how you're speaking about balance as being not a static achievement where it's like, yeah, I'm balanced. I've never met someone that's like, I'm balanced. It's always like you're either one way or the other.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I am balanced, all right. But it's what I
aim for.
That's a definition of success for me.
Yeah.
And so arguably by that point I'm not successful because there's definitely unbalanced times.
And I think that this is a whole perception thing, because like perfection in achieving balance, when you just think about those words, it sounds nonsensical and impossible to find, because it's like the example I give is on an airplane journey, you know, like the pilot, he's got a trajectory, he's got a route that he or she, whoever they need to follow. And 80% of the time, that pilot's not on the trajectory. 80% of the time.
Wow.
They're either this way or that. And life is so much like that. When we look at the trajectory of our lives and the goals which we set ourselves, be it in relationships, be it in work and whatnot, 80% of the time when we think about it, we're actually this way or that. We're not on the nose.
Yeah, totally.
And so the fallacy of perfection is just that. It's just, let's value the progress. Let's celebrate and glorify the progress, which is that I'm not 100% happy, but I've got a site there, and I may be even off in my way of going towards that site, just like the airplane pilot. But that I'm going in that direction, it should be commendable. And so, yeah, whether you're listening to this right now and you're single, whether you're successful, quote unquote, whatever that means to you, I want you to give yourself a pat on the back, because progress you're taking today as another step in the direction towards that X or that Y or that Z, whatever it is for you. And yeah, I think gone are the days where we lauded people who have made it, and now we actually celebrate people that are authentically, yeah, I'm not made it. You know, I think that's much, much, much cooler in my opinion.
Or you have made it, but you've made something else.
Yeah.
And also I think on that note as well of applauding people on the taking a step towards that trajectory, amazing, pat on the back. But also if you don't know where you're going, that's fine.
That's cool.
That's so fine.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to know.
Yeah.
You don't need to know.
You don't need to be a social media influencer to find out. You can find out in so many different ways.
Yeah, exactly. So even if you're taking steps but you're not quite sure where you're going, that's fine. And again, pat on the back.
Pat on the back. Pat on the back. This episode's going to be called Pat on the Back.
Pat on the back.
Do you have a dream like 20 years from now, Eleanor Wilkinson is going to be XYZ? What does that look like?
20 years from now, Eleanor Wilkinson is going to be happy. And that's the goal.
That's the goal.
She's going to be content. Happiness is maybe too far. Ideally, she's going to be content. Yeah. No, I think it's a really interesting one actually, because writing a cookbook has been a lifelong dream, but almost in a way that I never
Congrats.
thought. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I almost never thought that it would happen. So you kind of, one of those dreams that you're like, cool, it would be a dream to go on Strictly Come Dancing, but like, it's never going to happen.
Are you listening?
BBC, hit me up.
BBC.
Strictly Come Dancing now. But you're like, it's not going to happen, is it? Same with the cookbook. It was like, sure, that's a dream, but it's not going to happen. Now that it has happened, part of me is a bit like, what next? That was it. That was the dream.
What's the next dream?
More cookbooks.
More cookbooks.
Yeah, pre-order now, please, so that can happen.
Prolific.
Yeah.
We want to get prolific status.
Exactly.
We want to get to Ainsley Harriet status.
Can you imagine?
Oi.
Jamie Oliver.
Oi.
There's 50 cookbooks on the go. I don't
He's got
know.
50.
That's something like that. It's crazy.
That's nuts.
I think he's, actually, no, I'm not going to say
Oh,
because
no.
that might be
We can fact check it.
fake news. I think he's like the best non-fiction author of all time or something. Genuinely fact check that because might be a
Can
lie.
someone like drop in the comment section if we're
yeah,
telling the truth here?
yeah. And I'm not going to
That's
lie.
incredible. Well, even if he's not number one, but if he's in the top 5, I'll be like rated.
Mm,
Jamie Oliver.
yeah, unless of course I'm lying, in which case he does pretty well, doesn't he? He's fine.
Does good.
He's fine.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's a goal, but no, I think I would love to do more cookbooks because I enjoyed the process so much,
Right.
and it was all of my favorite things together in one process, and developing recipes, creating food, and sharing that with people. It's an interesting way because I'm not directly giving people a meal to eat, but it still feels like I'm sharing that food with people, and that's such a huge joy of mine. I would love to do that again, but also I'm grateful that I've got to do it now. And I actually think at this point in time I'm not quite sure what comes next, and I'm not quite sure what my goals are, and I'm trying very much to like be okay with that and to focus on what is happening, which is very difficult. I can't lie. That's really tough. But it's something that I want to be better at. And then we will see what happens next. And I think the goals will change and evolve. But all of this has been so unexpected. This whole career, this social media, this book, none of it was planned. None of it was... I didn't start out with social media thinking
You won't
I want this
believe
to be
how
my
many
job.
people we've had on this podcast that have said that.
Yeah.
Because no one ever believes that it's going to happen to them.
I didn't even
And,
want social media to be my job.
Yeah.
And like I'm so grateful for it, but it was never the plan.
Right.
It wasn't why I had my social media accounts.
Right.
I had it because I just love food and it was a fun little hobby.
Start with what you love. You know?
Exactly.
Start with what you love. And if you really love it and you put it out there with sincerity and without like a desire for it to just blow up for the sake of blowing up, it will grow.
Yeah. And even if it doesn't, as long as it is bringing you joy or something, that's so great as well.
It's incredible.
So yeah, I have to say I'm not quite sure what 20
I'm excited
years
to see
from
the
now
journey now.
is.
I'll be like following on.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Watch it tank. And,
Cookbook number 10. I'm like, yeah.
yeah,
happening.
Exactly. 10 pots, 10 portions.
10 pots, 10 portions.
There we go.
Thinking about maybe you have like an army of children of 10 and they'd be like 10 pots, 10 portions.
No.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay. Should we do some quickfire?
Sure.
You into quickfire?
Okay.
All right. Get ready, people. It's going to get fun. Question number 1. One word, one sentence. What's something you're curious about right now in your life?
Solo travel.
One ticket, one destination. I'm trying to think like a brand, you know.
One plane, one person.
One plane, one person.
I'm not sure. We'll work it out.
One world, one ticket.
Interesting.
Can I get credit for that title? Question number 2. What's something you're personally working through at the moment?
Trying not to worry too much about the future and focus on what's happening now and being present and grateful for that.
Feel you. Be here, be now.
Yeah.
Question number 3. In short, we kind of did this. What legacy would you like to leave behind in this world?
I would love to encourage people to find the joy in cooking for one, and to investigate in themselves as a form of cooking as a form of self-care, and to know that they deserve that joy and that love, and to show themselves that love.
There's so much value for how much confidence you give people who are cooking for one. And I mean that in all, versions of cooking, whatever that is, but loving for one. Because I know I struck a chord, or maybe like I'm definitely, I didn't want to dig too much, but I knew that there was something there about you really being happy in your solitude. And I think that's really powerful. I think it's very empowering as well for people that are right now feeling that there is a pressure to be two. And you're empowering people there's so many people that are in that boat with you, and that you're empowering them. I just want to give you full credit and congratulations and cheering you on from my boat.
That's
maybe a
very
different
kind.
boat, but I'm
Thank
still
you.
cheering you on.
Thank you. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like I really don't want it to seem like it's always joyful and happy, and there's never anything negative. And like, of course there is. It's life. Of course there is.
It's like that when you got two.
Yeah.
It's like that when you got four.
Exactly. And I also think that this isn't just about people who live by themselves. Like, I don't live by myself anymore. I have two wonderful flatmates.
Cool.
I still spend so much time by myself, and it's still, everybody is an individual, and I think it's always about focusing on yourself, and that can be whether you have a family. I'm sure it's so much harder when you have a family.
Yeah, just to get quiet. And this is like therapy for me.
Yeah. So, but like everybody, whether you're just walking home from work and you just have 15 minutes by yourself, like there's always going to be time where it's only you.
Yeah.
That's the one thing you're always going to be guaranteed.
Yeah.
Is that at some point it will only be you.
Yeah.
Obviously, from my perspective and from what I do, then there's probably always going to be time where you're cooking for yourself, whether you're just making a quick lunch, a quick breakfast. But like in general, why not just make that time comfortable? Comfortable being with yourself. If that can be happy, amazing. But if it's just comfortable, I think that's incredible. And I think if you're content, that's so impressive. And it would be amazing if everybody could experience that. Yeah.
Yeah. We could go on for hours on this. Feel like there's something brewing here. Being happy in one's own company should be celebrated. I mean that in the most joyous way possible. I know it sounds super like serious right now, but the point is that like even just yesterday I was sitting at home and it was late at night, and I just thought I'd love to go for a walk, but I don't want to go by myself. And now reflecting on it, I wish I'd gone, because what I did instead was watch the Grand Tour on Prime, Amazon Prime. I was watching Jeremy Clarkson do his thing, and I just filled that space with information and entertainment where it could have been really valuable just to go for a little stroll up and down my road. And it sounds weird, but like, can you think of a time, and I'm speaking to everyone, can you think of a time where you consciously said, I'm just going to do this without trying to like, overemphasize something that is going to occupy my mind? So like, at the beginning of any of the mantra kirtan sessions, and we did it when we met as well, it was just a time for you to breathe and just breathe, and just start in there. And it sounds super woo-woo, but just breathe, just take a moment, not to try and fill yourself with a desire for anything else, but just start there. Start with just inhale, exhale. And it's transformational to just go, I'm here by myself and I'm happy.
Yeah, and I think that was something that moved me quite a lot when we met and when I experienced that, because
I remember even where you sat. I can imagine.
really.
I've got a good mind for faces.
Do you? I don't. Also, my eyes were closed for most of it. So, but no, I just remember being like, gosh, there's so little time where I am not distracted by something. Cooking for me is one of those times where it is just
You and the
food. And like, sure, there might be music or there might be like a video on or something, but it's still me, my time, my space, my food. But there's so little time. And I think especially working in social media, that's something that I struggle with, and I think need to find a better balance of, is not
feeling
always consuming my work, other people's work, whatever it is. I think that's really difficult. And it's so hard to do nothing. Even if you go for a walk, you're normally always like listening to something. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No. It's just
but it's tough.
Yeah, it's the consciousness of or the mentality of always wanting to consume something rather than being. And it sounds, again, like, I get it. It's going to sound like, what the hell are you on about just being? But just try and sit in this room that you're in right now, switch off the podcast after this episode's done, and just sit and just hear. Like, you'll start hearing your thoughts, and you just start hearing what your body's saying. You start hearing what your mind is saying, and just sit with it. Like, it will be uncomfortable, but it's really transformational.
Yeah.
You know? First become conscious.
Yeah.
Become aware. And then you'll see the magic happens when you can just become aware. And it's not something that's only meant for people who wear robes and shave heads and stuff like that. It can be for anyone.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. And it can be for 2 minutes.
Straight, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it is. Maybe a bit longer than 10 seconds.
Maybe.
All right, last question. If you could create one law that everyone has to follow, what would it be? Prime Minister.
Butter should always be salted.
I was not expecting that.
I feel very passionately about this. Unsalted butter.
Really?
A crime.
I mean, I do eat
A
salted butter,
crime.
so.
Some bakers will probably disagree with me.
Is it?
And I can appreciate and respect that. But
I
that
don't know whether we've got many bakers that listen to this. if you're a baker and you
Maybe
feel
not.
passionate about
Yeah.
it, let us know.
Yeah, don't.
Salted butter. It's a game
Salted
changer.
butter. It should be, and I appreciate that's perhaps not very profound. Or maybe it is. Maybe it's about salted butter. Why have unsalted butter when you can have salted butter? Why have something mediocre when you can have something incredible?
Oh, she dropped it. Dropped the mic.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you so much, Eleanor. I really
Yeah.
appreciate this conversation.
Not at all. Thank you for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much. You're a really joyfully conscious person, and I really appreciate this conversation, and I hope you did too. If you did, drop it in the comments. Give us some love. And go and check out the book, One Pot, One Portion, coming out in July the 11th. Go pre-order now, and see you guys on the next episode of Soul's Sake. I love you all. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
If you enjoyed this podcast, you're sure to appreciate my conversation with Janavi Harrison, where we delve into the crossroads of spirituality, progress, and relationships whilst I was in India.
Creativity and being artful is something that everyone has and everyone can access. And I think it's more about, again, connecting to that deeper place within ourselves of intuition and playfulness, a sense of lightness, which can be quite hard in life. There's a lot of things to feel heavy about, but we are much more like that naturally as children.